And so we do welcome a dear friend, Coptic board member, minister, teacher, and healer. It's Steve Krejcik presenting tonight. We do welcome him back, the founder of the Gray Wolf Healing Therapies. Steve has helped thousands clear emotional and energetic roadblocks using the techniques of the Shuro shamans of Peru. And he has published numerous articles on self-improvement and spiritual growth. Steve believes that one's highest goal in life is to know yourself, and that we measure our spiritual progress by the level of inner peace, joy, and love that we feel and express. As I touched on a few moments ago and a couple different times, freedom is his topic, and we look forward to what he has in store for us tonight.
All righty. Great. It's really great to see all of my friends at the Coptic family here tonight, and I'm really excited to be sharing some ideas with some stuff I've been working on lately. When John asked me to talk tonight, I thought, well, what is going to be my title? What will I talk on? And so I thought, well, let's give the title Freedom, because that way it kind of leaves it open to a lot. And then whatever gelled. So let's just think about freedom. There's different kind of freedom. There's your freedom to drive your car wherever you want, to go on vacation, the freedom to watch whatever you want on TV. There's certain laws. If we follow these laws, we are free to move around. But these are all man-made laws and man-made freedoms that were given. But there's a different set. There's a set of universal laws and a set of universal freedoms, which I'd like to try to talk about tonight. But it's particularly difficult to talk about these because they are kind of outside the realm of thinking and the mind. But anyway, let's give it a try and see where it goes. So first of all, as we grow, when we're born as a little baby, we're free, and we're born, we don't think really. All we do, we get hungry, we cry, we don't talk, we don't really know things, and then as we grow, we learn. We start learning stuff. We learn that this is a tree. This is a blue ocean behind me here. We learn all these different things, but also we learn how to act and how to behave. Certain things may happen and you might get your hand slapped by mommy or daddy and you say, oh, that's bad, I can't do that. Or certain things you praise and then you say, well, this is good, I can do that. So all of these things accumulate in our bodies. And then we go to school. And what does school teach us? School teaches us to memorize things. It doesn't teach us to think. It does a little bit, but more so, if you can memorize things, school will be easier for you. Maybe you were that person, or you knew that person in school that, they didn't even have to study and they aced every test. They read it once and they had it. Unfortunately, I wasn't that person. I had to really study hard. But I guess that's good that I wasn't that great at memorizing things. But so, our whole society is teaching us to memorize facts and figures and things like that. So all of these thoughts that we've been building up inside of us, it can, a psychologist might call it conditioned response, like the dog. If you put the food down at 5 o'clock every day, at 5 o'clock, the dog is going to go over there and wait for the food. It's a conditioned response, and we're actually the same way. So, when they analyze people's thoughts, they find that people think predominantly the same thoughts every single day, over and over and over again, every single day. Okay, so these thoughts that we're thinking over and over every single day, they're like bars on a cage, and we're in that cage. And we don't know how to get out of that cage, right? How many of us in our lives, we have the same thing happening to us, or we wake up in the middle of the night with cold sweats, or we're nervous about this or nervous about that. There's a lot of stress in our lives. So all of this is the bars of our cage. Like I love the Eagles song. It says, so oftentimes it happens that we live our life in chains and we never even know we have the key. And we do have the key, but we just have to understand how to open those bars up. So so you can do meditation and healing and all this kind of stuff, and it's great. It really is good, and it leads you in the right direction. But in most cases, all it really does is it cleans your cage. So you're still in your cage, but now you're in a clean cage. Okay, so you're still bound by these limitations of thought and our physical bodies. And, you know, like Lori said in the Hamid Bey reading, what was it, to the extent that we are, the body should not be our master. But what happens and what life teaches us is as we grow, that we forget who we are. And then these thoughts and our bodies become who we are. So this becomes my identity to get mad when someone says something like this to me, or if somebody accuses me of something that maybe isn't even accurate about me, but it's something that really aggravates me. Well, those are the preconceived notions. Those are the bars of these cage that keep me locked in my cage, right? So how do we get out of the cage, right? How do we break free of this? Well, first of all, if you think about it, or if there's a technique to do it, then you're not getting out of the cage. You're just cleaning the cage, because the cage is all about thinking and about these thoughts. Eckhart Tolle says, if you're thinking or if you're speaking, you're not in the now. So our thinking minds, anything that we think, locks us into this cage. So really what we need to do is we need to learn how to step out of the cage. So how do we do that, right? Like say, okay, so I tell everybody right now, this is an old one, but I say, okay, everybody, don't think of a pink elephant, right? What's the first thing that pops into your head? A pink elephant, right? So in trying to change our thoughts, in trying to get rid of these thoughts, maybe they're thoughts that are negative or whatever, all we're really doing is we're strengthening them. So like, you think about forgiveness. When I was in grade school, the nuns would say, oh, forgive and forget. Well, if you're mad at somebody, it's kind of hard to forgive them, right? You can. So really, how do you really do that? How do you let go? How do you break out of this? Because really, we've become so entangled in our bodies and our thoughts that our bodies and our thoughts have become the masters of us, rather than us becoming the masters of the body. So, one way to look at the body is to look at it like you're renting it or you're borrowing it. So when the spirit forms, and it goes to the Mother Earth and it says, Mother Earth, I would like material to make a body so that I could experience this planet and this three-dimensional world. So the body is like clothing, right? So we've got these clothing that we're wearing, but what happens is we forget that it's just clothing, and we think that it's us. We think that these thoughts are us. We think that this makes us up. I have to stand for what I believe because this is who I am. If I give this up, I'm losing myself, right? Well, what are you losing? It's the false master that we all praise within ourselves. So how do we change this? How do we get out of this? Well, the first way is to think about is to take responsibility for your thoughts, to take responsibility for what's going on inside your mind. All right. So if you're at work and your boss is kind of in a bad mood and they're hollering at you and everything, and it makes your day miserable, what have you done? You just gave that responsibility for your miserable feelings over to your boss. So can you change your boss? Can you change those experiences that your boss had maybe 20 years ago or 30 years ago? No, you can't. Can you change your experiences that happened maybe 20 years ago? No, you can't. But what you can do is change the way you perceive the experience by taking this responsibility back into your own. So the next time you hear yourself starting a sentence out with you or they or he or she, you're giving your power away. You're giving it away, and you're lost in the story. You're lost in your thoughts. You're lost in your body. You've given away your mastership. So, um, so when you take that responsibility back, that is really the first step to stepping out of this. So, so what you want to do is you want to become the observer. So, like you're the observer. So, say for example, a small child comes up to you and says, "Wow, you look really old." You know, you're gonna laugh. You're gonna look at the child and go, "Oh, that's so cute." Whereas if your husband or your wife says to you, "Wow, you look really old," you're gonna be like, "Oh," right? See how the same statement had a different effect on us, and so in becoming upset about that, we are giving our power away to those people. Okay, second of all, you don't really you don't really think your way out of this, because if you think your way out of it, you say, "Oh, I think I've got it figured out." That is all that is reinforcing the bars. You cannot think your way out of it, because this is something beyond thought. Because if you're thinking your way out of it, you're giving thought that energy, and you're strengthening those bars to lock you in. So how do we do it? We do it by introspection. We do it by taking responsibility and being the observer ourselves. So, like one of my teachers, she told a story that I thought was really fun that I'd like to share. She said her life was miserable. People were mean to her. She didn't have any friends. People were talking about her behind her back, telling stories about her. Her life was just miserable. So so she was really looking inside and really meditating on this. And one day she woke up and she said, "I'm a bitch." She had an awareness that it was coming from within her. So this is one of those aha moments that come to us from doing that inner work and taking that responsibility within. It's the aha moment that helps change your perception of the world, and to step back and to look at it. You can think about it, and that does help. And like I said, that will clean the cage, and it's nice to have a cleaner cage than a messy cage, right? If you got to be in a cage, you might as well be in a clean one. But to really step outside of it, and so what this means is that we have our thoughts, which are just our conditioned response, which so many people think are ours, and our physical body, which we feel our body, we all have feeling and stuff like that. And we say, "This is me. This is me." A great example, Krishna Das talks about one of his masters, his master, and the master asked, and he had this acid, this LSD, this drug that a lot of people took in the 60s, which made you see colors and flowers and things like that. And he took so much, he took like 4 or 5 times the dose that a normal person would take. It would kill a normal person. And the master was just sitting there and his eyes were closed, and Krishna Das is looking at him going like, "What's going to happen? What's going to happen?" And suddenly the master starts going, "Moo," and then he starts laughing, because his consciousness was so far outside of his body that the body wasn't the master of him. So even though the body had this hallucinogenic drug, 5 times the strength that any human could even endure, the master was totally unaffected by it. And Eckhart Tolle tells the same story. He says, "Well, everyone's talking about it, so I wanted to try it." So he took it, and he said he didn't lose any consciousness or anything like that, that he was able to. So here he is being the silent observer. He's not owned by his body. His body is not the master. His thoughts are not the master. Okay, and I'm not I'm not recommending that you go and take LSD and try that. But what I'm saying is, this is an example that, the body doesn't, is not the master. Hamid Bey was a vegetarian, and yet, there was a story, maybe John, you would remember more of the details, where he went out and he said, well, I could eat meat if I want. And he ate a steak and he ate this, and he did. Even though he chose not to, he could eat it. And that steak did not affect his body because he was able to separate himself from the body. So, so the idea is to let go of that. Okay, so you start with little things. You maybe go around today and you become the silent observer and watch yourself. And if you see yourself starting to get angry, starting to get frustrated, maybe you're watching the news and you're like, oh God, look what's happening to the world, and you find yourself getting sucked into this, just step back and say, wait a minute, this is not me. This is not who I am. This is my thoughts. This is my precondition. This is my things that just keep rattling on in my mind, and step back. But if you do get caught up in it and you do get sucked in, don't condemn yourself and go, oh, damn, I got sucked up again. Every time this happens to me, I get sucked into this and I just can't pull out of it, because really then you're feeding those thoughts by being negative. It's the positive thoughts to say, okay, I did it. It's like riding a bike. I'm going to get up, dust myself off, hop back on that bike and try it again. And so if we do this long enough, eventually we will train ourselves and our consciousness to step away. So like when I was 12, I was in surgery and my body reacted to the anesthesia and I died on the table. And I heard the alarms going off, or whatever they were doing, and everybody starts running around. And I floated up into the corner of the room and I was looking down at myself and the doctors and everything. So I was able to experience myself without those emotions and without the physical body. And it was like so freeing. So to me, that is freedom, to step outside of the physical body. So let's just do a little exercise. Let's everyone just get comfortable and close your eyes. Take a few deep breaths. And feel what is your body. Feel your body. Maybe your dinner is digesting. Maybe you've got a sore this or sore that somewhere in your body. You might feel the chair you're sitting on, it might be a little warm or a little cool if the air conditioner's turned down. Feel your body. Now take that body and just say to yourself, that body isn't me. And just throw it out. Throw all those thoughts away. Throw that body out. And next, take a moment, think about all your thoughts. Think about the day, everything that you've been thinking all day long. And throw that out. What's left? That's you. That's the real you. Buddha called it the nothingness or the darkness. To me, it feels like nothing. Just feels like silence and peace. So the goal is to observe, be the observer of your thoughts and feelings rather than being your thoughts and feelings. The path is through being the observer of what is going on. Take responsibility for every thought. Let the outside world be perfect just as it is. Be aware of the sensations of the body and thoughts without judgment, because they are not you. That is not who you are. Observe them only. We are trapped in a cage and we don't even know it, but the path out is before you, and you alone must walk it. Be free of the cage. Be free to live life. Thank you.
Wonderful, Steve. Thank you so much. And it's good to be free and get out of the cage. I was still into the relaxation of your meditation there. And the monkey mind, I think you talked about in one of your previous presentations, how to calm that down. It's meditation is some keys to it. Getting out of the cage. Can you dive into that a little bit more and how to get out of that? Because it's so easy to get caught up into everyday life and these physical bodies, and we're so much more, which I'm so thankful you touched on again tonight. But,
Well, here I like a story that Eckhart Tolle tells of a master and a junior are walking along in the woods, and they're on this journey. And the junior says to the master, "Master, how do I find Zen?" And the master sits for a real long time, just very silently. And the junior's about to ask another question already. He thought the master forgot or something. And the master says, "Hear that river off in the distance?" And the junior sits there for a while, and finally he hears the trickling of water. And he says, "Yes, master." And the master says, "Enter Zen from there." So then they walk on a while longer, and the student says to the master, "Master, what would you have said if I didn't hear the river?" He said, "Enter Zen from there." So really what that means is, which I heard this many years ago, and it took me a long time to finally figure out what it meant. What it means is one way of letting go of the monkey mind is to listen for something in the distance. Like we've done those bells, that we do at the beginning of the meetings that go ding. And if you follow those into the silence, it's the same type of thing. But when the monkey mind is going really strong, just sit quiet, take a few deep breaths, and just listen for something in the distance. For some reason, when you're like listening far away and you're straining to hear, that is one way to calm the monkey mind. Another way is just focus on your breathing. When you're focusing on your breathing, you're not thinking as like much. But the idea is to let go of the thinking mind in general. I also find the Cobra breath that Hamid Bey teaches is very great for me to step out of the thinking mind. Does anybody else have any other ways that they might use to step out of the thinking mind?
I think you pretty much nailed it when you really focus on experiencing the environment as it is now. I mean, that's one of the classic phrases, be here now. Really focus on the now and experience it to the fullest. And you pretty much have to do that without thought.
Right. Yeah, good.
I'll do a repetition of something like from the Course, I am not a body, I am free, for I am as God created me. And I'll just focus on that. So other thoughts can't interject in that.
Yeah.
I think the total key is awareness. We are so practiced in just going along with life and getting upset about this or that or the other thing. It's catching ourselves when we do that, bringing the awareness to what we're exactly doing. That's the biggest challenge for me on a day-to-day basis.
Yeah. There's also a great meditation out there by Sadhguru called Isha Kriya, Isha Kriya, and it's a guided meditation that he says to do it every day for 90 days, and it does something to you. I'm not sure how or why, but it takes you out, and when I do it, my thinking mind will be going, the whole time I'm like thinking about work and what I got to do and all this. And then when it's over, I can't move because my body is like in this state of total peace. So even though the mind is still thinking, it's not controlling me, if you will, or controlling my body. So that's something you can look up there. I'm sure it's on YouTube. It's Isha, Isha Kriya. Kriyi. Thank you, Cat's here, by the way, too.
Isha Kriya with a K.
Yeah, Kriya.
And Isha, Isha. You know, when I first started, I'm like, oh, this is really stupid. You know, why am I doing this? You know, because the thinking mind is like, you know, wanting you to not do it. Because the thinking mind wants to be the control. And it's going to keep on doing whatever it can to bring you back in.
I like to stare at my trees in the backyard and just contemplate what they're experiencing. Sounds kind of stupid, but that really calms me down.
Yeah.
The
What
backyard.
are they thinking?
You know, another one to think about, which I really like, and I've talked about before, is the Triangle of Disempowerment. You know, if you are the victim, you're on one side. If you are the aggressor, you're on the another side of the triangle. And the third side of the triangle is if you're the savior, if you have to save people. Doesn't mean you don't help people or don't want to help people. It's when you are obsessed with saving people, I guess is what I'm saying. So if you find yourself in one of these states of being, you know, be aware of that you are in a state of drain or a state of drawing energy out of you, not a state of empowering yourself. Yep, very good. Any other questions or comments or thoughts?
A triangle again, Steve, was the savior is the third one. What was the other two?
The victim
The victim.
and the perpetrator or aggressor, perpetrator, aggressor, and then the savior.
And for me, another
Thank you.
way out of the mind, the earth, the ego mind, I guess I might call it, is to remember who we really are and to stop and remember that we are all one. We are all part of God. We are all light and love. And where else can you go? That's kind of it. Beyond that, there isn't anything. There's only love. So where's the mind going to go from there? There's nothing to think about.
Anyone else have comments or suggestions, thoughts for Steve's wonderful presentation tonight?
I sit and follow my breath. I visualize it going up my spine and then coming back down and showering my body. And just keep watching it. And then start looking through my third eye and just getting quiet within, and everything just kind of gets calm.
Anyone else with comments, thoughts?
Well, the one thought that's coming through my mind is a great way to get a crowd to be quiet is to talk about the benefit of not thinking.
In that space, aren't we? Good point.
I hear the crickets all the time. Does anyone else hear the crickets?
I do. Yep.
Yeah. Is that
I hear
outside with you,
crickets.
Michael?
Yeah, it's that and my fountain's playing running right now, so that's very
Oh.
relaxing.
It is, yeah.
Nice to sit out here and just relax. It's one of my places. Wonderful. Thanks again, Steve. And thank you, everyone, for your thoughts.
Thank you, Steve. Great
Thank you.
job.
Great.
Thank you, Steve.
Mhm.
Very good.